So we will just, in short, using my notes, not the text. It would, because it is just to give you an idea of what follows. Because this structure is also very important. I will explain it on the other occasion. So we have learned these 4 types of enlightenment. Enlightenment means actually awareness and wisdom. 觉. In the Chinese language, they are synonyms. The body is also called 觉. The wisdom can also be called 觉. And awareness, sampajanya, also can be called 觉. The Chinese language is very abstract. Anyway, in Chinese character, you have the see. You have to see. You have to see with wisdom. That is 觉. When we don't see with wisdom, then it is non-觉. But you have seen the non-觉is only in regard to the 觉. If you don't, if you don't see with wisdom, then you don't even have a 不觉, non-觉. Then is a big trouble. Then you do evil and you even don't know that you are doing evil. Then the consequences is a disaster. So once you have the sati, and you can know that you are, what is in Abhidhamma the beginning of the enlightening process. Due to sati, you can distinguish what is wholesome and unwholesome. If you don't have sati, you cannot distinguish. So according to the Pali Abhidhamma, after sati comes hiri ottappa. You have shame of doing evil and you have fear of doing evil. Then you have body, you have jie, but it is not yet real jie. So what we have explained yesterday, it explains the shijie. Shijie means a process of enlightening. Process of enlightening is from enlightenment, which is not the real enlightenment, to enlightenment which is based on duality, to enlightenment which is based on non-duality. The bodhisattva who has entered the bodhisattva bhumi. And then you have the Chujinjie, that is the state of the Buddha. But these stages cannot be distinguished. That is a non-dualistic stage, because you are meditating on the Buddha nature. And in this tradition, the pratitya samutpada, the dependent origination, is based on the Buddha nature. In the tradition of Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, it is based on alaya. But due to Zen tradition, Lankavatara Sutra and so on, Ghana Vyuha Sutta, Avatamsaka Sutra, these are very important sutras for understanding the non-dualistic tradition. In these sutras, actually, the alaya and the understanding alaya means understanding the Buddha nature. Then Lankavatara Sutra teaches literally the alaya is the Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is the alaya. Because their understanding is inseparable. Why? You should know. We have already explained. Forgotten? Because duality comes from the alaya consciousness. When you know it, then duality is non-duality. Why? We have given example. When you touch something, when you touch an object, if you touch with a big discussion in the Pali Abhidhamma also, do you touch the color with your eye or do you touch the color with your mind? Very important to understand. Do you touch the sound with your ear or do you touch the sound with your mind? Of course, they are related, but who has the dominating function? The Buddhaghosa is of the same idea like the Yogacara tradition. It is through the eyes that we see, through the mind that we see. His opponents, and they were, say that it is through the eyes that we actually see. Because when we lose the eyes, when we become blind, we don't see anything, but we still see, but through the mental eye. So, now you have the explanation, after the explanation of the Shijie, process of getting enlightened, you have the explanation of the Penjie, of this original enlightenment. And we don't go into the detail. This original enlightenment is based on understanding that Vijja is only related to avijja, the wisdom is only related to ignorance, ignorance is related to wisdom. You cannot have wisdom and ignorance separated. Because we see the light because of darkness, we see the darkness because there is some light, otherwise we don't see anything. Right? So, always relation. So, when you understand it, so outside is the Dharma and inside is the Buddha nature. Because Buddha nature gives the understanding. The true understanding is through wisdom. Right? So that's why in Pali also you have the Mamsa Chakku, the flesh eye. You have the Dibba Chakku, like Anuruddha, the divine eye. You can see all kinds of devatas everywhere. And you have the Dhamma Chakku and the Panya Chakku. They are synonyms. You have the wisdom eye and the Dhamma eye. The wisdom eye and the Dhamma eye are synonym. When the Buddha has taught the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, when he started turning the wheel of Dharma, So, the 5 bhikkhus who heard the discourse, they opened the eye of wisdom, right? What does it mean? They can see nirvana. Nirvana is a real dharma. But you can see nirvana through, as you have learned, these 4 stages, you can still see nirvana as something separate from samsara. If you become an enlightened bodhisattva, there is no such separation. So, if there is no such separation, you're ready for the perfection. And the perfection is when suchness becomes awareness. Awareness and suchness cannot be separated. This is very important if you want to understand the non-dualistic approach to meditation. So these 4 stages of enlightenment, they are the 4 stages of perfection in awareness. When you understand your mind is engaged in evil thought, and you stop this evil thought, it is enlightenment, non-enlightenment, because you have not seen the Dharma yet. The beginning bodhisattva, the disciples who are not yet Aryas, they are in this stage. But it is a very most important stage. The noble Putujana, the noble common man, can do much more paramis, much more good things for himself and for the world very often than the one who actually sees the Dharma. But if you see the Dharma based on the differentiation, that is called Xiang Si Jue. Xiang Si means sadrisha. It is like realization, but it is not yet the opening to the, not necessarily opening to the true realization. But some teachers like Stiramati and so on, he also calls the Arahat a bodhisattva. Everybody is a bodhisattva. Because as the teaching of the Sadharma Pundarika, which is most important sutra in a way in China, actually what the Buddha sees is a true reality. What the Arahat sees is a true reality, but yet not complete. It is only skillful means for attainment, the real reality, which is suchness. So that is why some teachers called the Arahats the Bodhisattvas, because they are on the way to the ultimate reality, which is finally one. That's why in the non-dualistic tradition, the 4 Noble Truths, they are also only skillful means for realizing the one truth. The truth is one. Ekam hi satyam dvitiyam navidyate. Even you have in the Agamas. Ultimately, the truth is one. And that is nirvana. In non-dualistic sense, suchness. So this is the explanation of the Shijie, process of becoming enlightened. In this tradition, becoming enlightened is coming back to the beginning. The beginning is...
Excuse me, I'll just go and get you some more tea.
Thank you. You have very often some good ideas. Without good ideas, we are lost. Huh? Especially if you have someone next to you who has good ideas, the life becomes wonderful. So you have seen the process of becoming enlightened starts from the end and coming to the beginning, because the process of cognition is arising, huh? Then coming to the stand, the cause and effect has to come to the stand. When it is at the stand, also great discussion in Abhidharma, is stand really exists or not? Huh? Like you throw the stone to the sky, huh? As long as it has this cause, this power which threw it up, it goes up, then it like stand, but it is so short that some say that it does not stand, huh? And then it goes down. That is impermanence, huh? And cessation. Huh? This is how our mind process works. Because in order that the mind moves, it needs a prana, we have said, no? It needs a life energy, huh? The life faculty. When the life faculty is not in the body, the mind will not move. Right? Like Yoga Vasishta says, like the horse and the horseman. Huh? The mind is a horseman and the prana is a horse. Huh? In the Hindu tradition, they identify the prana with a Brahma. Huh? Of course, in Buddhist tradition, they cannot accept it. But the Brahma is very mysterious and cannot be grasped in any way. But the prana, we can be conscious of the prana. Yet, it penetrates everything. Huh? So it is maybe like Brahma. Huh? So this explains, these 4 stages explain the process of enlightening. Huh? Explaining also the process of enlightening. And then there is a process that is based on bodhi. We have learned that. And you have the process of non-enlightening, pujye. Jye is only in regard to pujye. Bodhi is only in regard to no body. You cannot have body without no body. Why? Because the enlightenment is in regard to the non-enlightenment. Right? If you don't have non-enlightenment, you cannot have enlightenment. This is the non-dualistic logic. So the process of the enlightenment is a process, and non-enlightenment, ignorance, is also a process. And we, in this scripture, the 2 processes, they are permeating each other. Where they are permeating each other? Alaya Vijnana. In Alaya Vijnana, the impermanent consciousness and permanent consciousness, they are together. That's why we are bound by the mind and we are liberated by the mind. Depends how we use it. And the ignorance permeates the body, and the body permeates the ignorance. This is according to the scripture how we function. Now you are to realize it on the breath. And very helpful for that is this meditation on the in-between breath. The gross breath is not there, but the subtle breath still continues. the subtle breath continues, but it is where does this continuity has the root? In the previous samskaras, we have learned that is to understand the dependent origination. If you don't have previous samskaras, if you did not arise in this body, you would not be breathing, right? You cannot have the process of life only from a materia. There has to be mind. Which mind? Based on the previous samskaras. That's why you had the explanation of the understanding of the meditation on the breath. You have to understand the causation of the breath. Similarly, here you have to understand the causation of the enlightenment. The definitive enlightenment. In the definitive enlightenment, you come to the beginning. And the beginning is a state of Buddha, when the consciousness becomes the suchness. When the consciousness is suchness, you are a perfectly enlightened Buddha. When you have realized it, you are a Bhumi Bodhisattva. To be a Bhumi Bodhisattva is very difficult. Most of the Bodhisattvas, they are commoners, but noble commoners. Noble commoner can do many useful things, and he does not turn away from the world. This is because he has a bodhicitta, we have explained. So now the text explains the original enlightenment, and we will jump over it. I just give you from my notes what it means. It has two aspects. The aspect of knowing the purity, that is the original enlightenment. And the aspect of, on the base of knowing the purity, you can do unthinkable karma. Buddha, because he is identical with the purity, which belongs not to the world, but which belongs to that which surpasses the world. Of everything good in this tradition, that is very important for understanding Mahayana, does not belong to individual, it belongs to the principle. That is why when Bodhidharma came to China, when met the Wu emperor of the Liang, he told him he has done so much merit, but he is very egocentric, as usually the kings are. So he told him no merit to the emperor. Emperor very amazed, so he says, very shocked, so he tells him, who is standing there? He said, I don't know. And goes away. So this is, then the ministers, the emperor is in shock, ministers ask the wise minister, who was that man? And he tells me, it was the Chenrezig himself. the Avalokiteshvara. So these are the two aspects of understanding the original enlightenment. Understanding the original enlightenment also means we have learned understanding non-enlightenment and enlightenment. Very wonderful. Everything is related. And now we come to the section which is very important. Also, it explains the 5 comparison of the body. It is like empty mirror and so on, but it is not important for us because we would never end. What is very important and what we comes to, we have seen the process of enlightenment from the end, knowing that the evil mind, the unwholesome mind is harming you. Now he explained the process of enlightenment from the beginning. So you have to understand from the end and you have to understand from the beginning. And since this passage is quite important, we can translate from Chinese. Yes. So we have understood that the enlightenment, the meaning of enlightenment comes from the meaning of the non-enlightenment, and non-enlightenment is based on the enlightenment. And both, therefore, enlightenment and non-enlightenment cannot be dualistic, that we have learned. And if you are thinking, that is meditation. This scripture explains the eka samskara, samadhi. When you are thinking, you are not, so to say, directly connected with suchness. It is when you are not thinking that you are connected with suchness. Therefore, through Abhidharma Samuccaya explains, through shamatha you understand suchness, through vipassana, that is when the mind moves, only when the mind moves you are practicing vipassana. You understand citta matrata, it's all mind. All that makes the mind move is not different from the mind. Therefore, the base for dependent origination in this tradition is a Buddha nature. We have learned that everything. The Dharma we have learned is the mind. And the mind is ungraspable, unthinkable. Yet we have to grasp it, we have to understand it. So we are dealing with the characteristic, not with the essence. We have learned all this. You cannot grasp the essence, you can only grasp the characteristics of the essence. We have learned it in the beginning. Therefore the essence is ungraspable, the characteristics, they have the great essence, great characteristics and great function that we have learned at the beginning. Now is explanation of that. So, however, we are dependent origination based on Buddha nature, the essence and the characteristic, they are not dual. They are non-dual. So before you really understand, so you have the idea of which is based on not knowing the suchness. The suchness is non-dual. When you don't understand, then you give rise to the thought, right? But you don't understand that its object has no self-existent nature. When you understand non-duality, you give rise to the thought, but you understand this thought has no self-existent nature. In this tradition, mind has self-existent nature, but its self-existent nature is suchness. Therefore, you meditate on the space being similar to the mind, but not mind is not space. Space is dead, the mind is living. Mind is like a mirror. Mirror is also dead, but the mind is living, but it is like the mirror because it just reflects. We have learned all this. So this is the ignorance is. We have jumped over this passage. Ignorance is to think that this mirror is not living, no? Therefore you come to nihilism. That this space is not living, you come to nihilism. But the suchness is not nihilism. But it is also not existence, and this is a middle way. This is what is to be realized. And the beginning of this realization is when you give rise to the evil thought, you know that it is harmful for you, harmful for others, therefore you don't let it continue. So you give rise to the true faith in the purity, which belongs, the purity belongs to the highest reality. The beings cannot be pure. This is very important teaching of the Bodhisattva tradition. So that is why the Diamond Sutra and so on, if you give even a little gift with the knowledge of suchness, that it is not you giving, but the goodness belongs to the nirvana, to the highest reality. The merit of that is greater than even if you cover the earth by the gold, still your merit will not be superior. Of course, this is very extreme, but through extreme we learn, no? We have to be shaken in order to learn. Like the emperor, Chinese emperor was shaken, so he may have had some good thoughts that what he is doing is not for himself. So everything starts with the alaya. And we have seen in the alaya is a mixture of body and no body. Because a body is relative to the no body can only exist in relation to the body. And they are mixed in the alaya. That should be clear. So that which does not change and that which is always changing in each and every moment due to causes and conditions, they are not separate. They cannot be same, they cannot be different. There cannot be neither same nor different. And there also cannot be neither not same nor not different. Wonderful logic. They arise, but they don't arise by the mind which moves, does not arise by itself, does not arise due to other causes and conditions, do not arise due to combination of other causes and the own from itself, Swayambhu, and it does not arise without the cause. So you are in trouble, your logic is in trouble, knowing you are in trouble when you're thinking, then you still think, but you don't catch it. You don't catch the thinking. That is different from the Vedanta approach. No? You don't try to find any essence. The non-essence of the mind is the svabhava of all the phenomena in this tradition. But the mind is living, but functions like the space, functions like the mirror. So you get to the heart of the non-dualistic understanding. This scripture is incredibly dense, and it is very difficult to understand. You need a teacher. Commentary. Commentary is a teacher. Studying is if you study with mindfulness, awareness, the study is also a teacher. But if you just study for the exam, then study is not a teacher. So now comes this important, how it comes from the beginning. Now, because we have no body, we have no body, now you have the process from the beginning. The beginning is a no body. Because we have no body, we can get the body. If we don't have no body, we can never get the body. Right? Non-dualistic approach. When you have no body and you understand you have no body, you are in the process of body. So, due to or based on non-body, there arise in the mind three aspects. Three aspects in the mind. It is xiang in Chinese, very important. Tenzing wants to learn Chinese. Xiang is a character, the tree and the eye. That means a sign of the object, nimitta. That means an image also. That means a characteristic of the object. Many meanings. and it means also beginning of the mental process. If you don't have an image in the mind, what will you think? Huh? So this Xiang has a very deep meaning, but here we can translate it as aspect, in another situation as a character, in another situation. This is what makes the Chinese so flexible language. All depends on the syntax and on the situation. Therefore, the same scripture you can translate in many different ways. That's why it's so important to have commentaries. Linguistically it is right, but it will become complete confusion. So very often the translation from Chinese is a complete confusion, because it is not in the, it is linguistically right, but not in the correct context. So here the context is obviously aspect. And that we understand on this. These three aspects, they come together. But we don't understand that they come together. The dualism comes from the mind itself. Mind creates the dualism. Which mind? The non-enlightened mind, not the Buddha's mind. So when we have no body, we give rise, or we produce, rather would be the better translation, we produce in our mind the three aspects, which are connected with no body, with pujye, and cannot be separated from the non-body. They are from the non-body, asamprayukta, and not impossible to separate. Now, the author asks himself, what are these three aspects? The first is the aspect of karma or karmic consciousness based on ignorance. This is where it all starts. The mind moves and believes that what it sees is a real object and the real subject. This is a result of our karmic consciousness. Which is the beginning of identifying with the movement of the mind. We identify with the movement of the mind. So we are in trouble. When you become a Buddha, when you become an Arahat, you see this very clearly, so you let go. So this is the beginning. We have the karmic consciousness. It is like a commentary to Lankavatara. It says exactly the same. If you have karmic consciousness, it comes always together with the other two aspects. It is inseparable from them, arises together with them. So when you have a karmic consciousness, your mind will move. If you have a body, here it means the Atyanta body, the supreme body, then the mind does not move. When it does not move, then you have no dukkha. Dukkha means being born under the bad sky. Du means bad, kha means sky. We are born under the bad sky, and that is impermanence. And the result of being born under the bad sky is that you cannot leave the cause and effect. You cannot abandon the cause and effect. In the Zen tradition, there is a very famous story. The Zen teachers especially like to use. Master Paijang. Master Paijang is very important in the Zen tradition. He is the one who Sinicized the Indian Buddhism, made it Chinese. So he changed all the Vinaya. So now wearing different clothes. Like I am not properly clothed, but Tenzing is a good example. You can go in trousers, you can go in like this, and you can work in the fields. You can do many things. So everything is according to the conditions. You can eat in the evening, and you can many of these vows then are abolished. Are only the important vows, of course, remain. So this Master Paijang, when he was a great Zen master, towards the end of Tang Dynasty, when he had a meditation discourse, always at the back was an old man, listening very carefully, in deep concentration. An old man in ragged clothes. He did not miss a single discourse. One day, he always waited. One day, he had a good chance, so he could approach the master when nobody was there. He goes to him and Shifu, I have a question. He said, go on. Does an enlightened man, is he free from the karma? And he tells him, the enlightened man understands the karma. He starts crying, and he bows to the master, and says, I have been in this yogi in this mountain, meditating in the cave, and one layman came to me and asked me this question, and I told him the enlightened man is free from karma. Due to this, I was born as a fox in the on this very mountain, and for many generations I have been living as a fox. Because of my good meditation, I can change my body. He is a very good meditator, but I cannot get liberation. Thank you, Master. And the Master goes away, and the next day the Master says, you go to that on that path you will find that and that locality, you will find a cave. In that cave you find a dead fox. Take the dead fox and give it the funeral of a monk. Very nice story. If you go to that mountain Paijang, I had the chance to visit, then you will find this very cave with the sign, and many tourists come to make pictures. So that is a cave of the old fox. Okay, we have to have some fun. Otherwise, we become too serious. And learning Dharma, we have to have some fun. So when the mind moves, it moves because you have the karmic aspect and you identify with this karmic aspect. What happens? When the mind moves, then it will have the aspect of seeing, darshana bhaga. That means the subjective aspect, which moves the mind, which is called avarjana citta. Avarjana, very interesting, like the Pali avarjana. In Pali also the process of cognition starts with the avarjana citta. But here this avarjana citta is already involved in the karmic mind. So you have the subject of seeing. The subject of seeing is because the mind moves, it can see. See here means distinguish as something which is really there. This subject is really there. And that is the avarjana citta. It comes, in Pali tradition, it comes from the bhavanga. In the Sanskrit tradition, it comes from the alaya. That's why they are identified. Then it says a very wonderful non-dualistic logic: if the mind does not move, then it does not see anything. It does not distinguish anything separate from itself. Then when there is something that sees, there is something which is seen. You cannot have something that sees without something that is seen. And that which is seen is called khyati vijnana. That is a consciousness which is called nimitta bhaga, the aspect of seen. When you have the seer, you have the seen, right? So when you have darshana bhaga, the aspect of one who sees, you will have the aspect of what is seen. If you don't have the aspect of something that sees, you will not have the aspect of what is seen. This idea also comes in the Kashmiri Shaivism. They are mixing the Vijnanavada with the compromise with the Vedanta. Very interesting tradition. Unfortunately, it did not really survive. So you have the aspect of that which is seen, and that which is seen is the aspect of the gochara. Gochara dhatu. What is gochara? Go means cow, chara means the pasture. The pasture of the mind is its object. Sanskrit is very, very subtle language.
Just like vitakka and vichara.
No, this is a different thing. It has nothing. It is, everything is connected, but this is completely other thing. Of course, when you have a real gochara, then you have the vitarka and vichara. But that's okay. That is a different problem. So that is called the khyati vijnana, the vijnana which reveals the gochara, where the mind can take its pasture. So it can hang. In Sanskrit, the object is called alambana. Alambana is from the root lam, which means the mind can hang on it. If the mind does not hang, it has no object. That is so subtle language. The mind hangs, therefore it has an object. If it does not hang, it does not have the object. And this hanging on the object comes from the mind itself. It has the nature of the mirror, it has the nature of the space, but we don't see it. So, it does not mean that Buddha has no object. He has objects, but he does not hang on the object. Why he does not hang on the object? He does not identify with the subjective aspect, so he understands the karma, but does not say that he is beyond the karma. Even the Buddha cannot be beyond the karma. No one is. But he detaches from the karma. Detaching from the karma means understanding the karma. And that will do for today. Tomorrow we will, when these three aspects appear, then appear the 6 aspects connected with the differentiation of the object. And we will discuss them tomorrow. Too many informations lead to what? I have forgotten. Mental indigestion. Indigestion is what? Diarrhea. Constipation. Diarrhea is in organic medicine is a result of cold. Constipation is a result of heat. Chinese, Tibetan medicine, very wonderful. All is like a nature. Our body is nature. When we have diarrhea, it means there is a cold in the stomach. When you have constipation, there is too much heat in the stomach. So you need very different cure, different. But there are also medicines combined which can fix both, no? The Thai doctor, very expert. And the massage also, very important. If you massage, how do you know cold or cold phenomena or heat phenomena? How do you know? If you have cold phenomena, when you press, you get relief. And you have heat phenomena, when you press, it becomes worse. That's how you know if you have the excessive heat or excessive cold in the body, in that particular place. That medicine is a king of all sciences. No wonder Buddha was the king of the medicine man. And in Chinese Buddhism, but also Tibetan Buddhism, all doctors pray to the medical Buddha, very important. Medical Buddha is in Samadhi and has the herb in his bowl. Okay, so that will do for today. No constipation, no diarrhea. We have the right temperature. So we can
On that note, Bhante, shall we ask if there are any questions? Is that
okay, now we
a
ask
good
the
moment?
questions.
Yeah. And perhaps before we do, I just wanted to ask Bhante Aruna's, in regard to Bhante Aruna's question, is Kamasthana a better Pali synonym of Gochara?
The Kamathana refers to meditation object. Gochara refers to any object. It does not need to be any meditation object. Kamathana is that object which you use for meditation. So you have two kinds of Kamathana in Visuddhimagga, the Shamatha Kamathana, Samatha Kamathana and Vipassana Kamathana. The Vipassana Kamathana is in order to penetrate the suffering of impermanence. Samatha Kamathana is in order to stabilize the mind in the purity of consciousness.
Bhante, could you explain how karma works in some basics? On how does it really work?
Well, karma is a cause and effect.
Yeah.
Whatever you do due to causes and conditions. So you will reap the effect which is corresponding to that karma. And the cause and effect is endless. So the karma also has, in fact, no beginning, but it can have an end when you penetrate its nature. But even if you penetrate its nature, you have got the liberating wisdom. Still, you are, as long as you live, you are bound by the karma. Even the Buddha could not do anything. His whole clan was massacred. He had backaches. But in relation to us, he could understand what can be done and what cannot be done. We are ignorant about the karma, therefore we don't understand what can be done and what cannot be done. Whom we can help, whom we cannot help. The Buddha understood it completely. The Arahat can understand it only partially. That's why the Buddha can liberate so many hundreds of thousands of beings, because he understands their karma. The Arahat only understands partially.
So is it similar to how it is in Hinduism, or is there a difference between Buddhist
Big
and
difference.
What would that
In Hinduism, very often misinterpreted karma as a destiny. You are born as a Shudra, so you remain as a Shudra. But this is misunderstanding of karma. Even in the Upanishads you will find some passages which say same thing as Buddhism. Najacha Brahmano. Not by birth you become a Brahmin, but by karma you become a Brahmin. So, according to the Vedas, the Shudra should not be taught about the Brahman. But in Buddhism you don't have such a principle. But the Upanishads also reject this principle in a way. According to Manusmriti also, that's why Baba Ambedkar, we were just with with Tenzing in Nasik, visiting the temple where Baba Ambedkar did the fasting and burning the Manusmriti because of this affirmation that Shudra cannot be taught Brahman. So he himself converted to Buddhism, and because he was a hero, a Shudra, so millions of these Shudras converted to Buddhism. Gandhiji wanted to keep them Hindus, so big conflict, no? But a peaceful conflict. Gandhiji had a different view of India's future. Ambedkar had a different view of India's future. Finally, none of them had foreseen what will happen. Both died very before they could be very effective in changing the country according to their vision. Right? So we are living in the India of today, which is full of contradictions. Okay. Any other questions?
Banteji, what other objects would you suggest? Let's say if the breath, like shamatha on the breath, what other objects could one try which you think are good to see what one has affinity for stabilizing the mind?
In the tradition I have learned, you basically start with two objects, either the meditation on the breath or meditation on the four elements. Only then you learn the kasinas and the brahmaviharas and so on, after you have stabilized the mind. According to the text we have translated, the Tenzing is editing, you start meditating on metta only when you have attained the fourth dhyana. A similar idea. In this tradition, the introduction into the vipassana are the four elements meditation. But you can also start with the four elements meditation if the meditation on the breath is not clear, and then come back to the breath in order to attain jhanas and so on. You can start with vipassana and then go to jhana, or you can start with jhana and then go to vipassana, which is better.
And if one starts...
But you can start also, as explained in Visuddhimagga, you can start with the kasinas. Some people start with kasinas. You can also start with metta, but it will be more difficult to get the jhana. You can start with the recollection of the Buddha. You can start with the recollection of the death. They are the four protective meditations in Theravada tradition, which everybody learns before going to vipassana. Meditation on the death, meditation on the Buddha Anusati, recollection of the Buddha, meditation on breath, and metta. These are the four protective meditations. If you have anger, you meditate metta. If you are lazy, you meditate on death. If you have no faith, you meditate on the virtues of the Buddha. And if you have many useless ideas, which mostly all beginners have, you meditate on the breath. According to Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, you have the 5 basic meditations in order to purify your charita, your behavior. If you are, in English they say horny person, is it so?
Yes.
Lustful would be.
In the non-dualistic meditation, it is not necessarily bad to be a horny person, because you can do visualizations and use it for faith. No? The horny person can easily be very devoted. No? Tulsidas, he was the most horny person in the world, but he became the great saint because he turned his devotion to Rama. Famous story in India. Now, if you have raga charita, you meditate on the impurities. The impurities are of 2 kinds, either saviññānaka asubha or aviññānaka asubha. The purities of the body, 32 parts of the body, or the dead, the corpses in different stages of decomposition. In Thailand you will find many monks carrying these photos of the corpses, right? So this is for the raga charita. For the dosa charita, metta. For the vitaka charita, the one who is thinking too much, meditation on the breath. For, pardon? Raga charita asubha. For the mana charita, meditation on the 6 elements.
What is mana charita?
Mana means pride, infatuation, mada, with oneself. One thinks that he is very, very smart and special. Very often the good meditators, they think they are something special, no? If you have bodhicitta, it helps not to get involved with that. So mana charita meditates on the 6 dhatus. What the individual is. It's only the 4 elements, the space and the consciousness. What is there to be proud about?
In the text, how is the process of meditating on the 6 dhatus?
Well, you study Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. That explains exactly.
Venerable, so for...
Then you have the meditation on Paticca Samuppada for the Moha Charita. Who is a Moha Charita? Almost everybody. Body is, we are all Moha Charita. But especially Moha Charita is one who does not see, that he is not a separate individual from the whole, no? That he is not just cause and effect, his body is just a process, his mind is just a process. So he meditates on the 5 aggregates being the process, no? This is a northern tradition. So you have to match, just like the Visuddhimagga explained, you have to match your meditation best for the suitable object of concentration. And the skillful teacher, he decides what kind of charita you are by observing your behavior. The disciple is supposed to observe the behavior of the guru before he accepts him, and the guru must observe the behavior of the disciple before he accepts him. This is an Indian tradition. When he accepts him as a disciple, he becomes Antevasi. Antevasi. What means Antevasi? He lives with the teacher and serves the teacher. He lives inside, in the Gurukula. That is Indian tradition. So he lives with the teacher, helps the teacher in the daily tasks, and the teacher guides him for attaining clarity. So always the teacher has an Antevasi. Any other question? Let us.
And Bhanteji, if the practitioner is highly conceptual, and let's say the teacher says, okay, you start first with vipassana, what kind of object they use, a beginner meditator, if they are starting with vipassana?
If you're very analytical and you have some concentration, 4 elements meditation is very good. 4 elements is all analytical, but based on concentration. In my tradition that I have learned, everybody goes through the 4 elements meditation. And from what I have read, that was also the Kashmiri tradition, which has unfortunately disappeared. According to what I have read in Chinese sources, the Chinese monks who came to Kashmir to study the meditation, they were led on the 4 elements meditation.
And is the 4 elements meditation similar to the 6 elements meditation? What exactly?
Not exactly the same. The 4 elements meditation, you through concentration, you go through your body, and you determine the characteristics of the elements. The earth has 6 characteristics, the other elements have all 2 characteristics, and each of the 4 elements has a heavy side and the light side. So you have the hardness, roughness, heaviness, and their opposites. That is the earth. The earth is the establishment of the other elements. If you don't have earth, you cannot have water, fire, temperature, fire, and you cannot have movement. There has to be something moved to have a movement. So they come together, but on the base of the earth. That's why for the earth is 6 characteristics. Then water has 2 characteristics. flowing and cohesion. Fire has two characteristics, heat and coldness, coolness. And the wind has two characteristics, pushing or supporting and vibration or movement. So you identify these characteristics, but not like Goenka, you make them the object of the shamatha. They become the object of shamatha, not like Goenka. It is very different. So you make a very clear picture of hardness, and then you go through your body part by part and identify the hardness until the picture is very clear. Then you identify the opposite of hardness. Then everywhere in the body you see the softness, and so on. And you will be surprised when you go through these 12 characteristics very fast, so your body becomes like the crystal. And then when you concentrate on the space in this crystal, it will burst into these kalapas, like stars in the sky. And they move very fast when you concentrate on these characteristics in them, in these particles that you have identified. That's why you need so strong concentration. Then this movement becomes less and less and less and less until everything stops. The scientists should do this meditation and the world would be different. But the scientists never engage in the meditation. They only believe in instruments. But this is the inner physics.
Some of us had a different idea about it. Sorry.
Pardon?
Some of us had a different idea.
Yes. Well, the scientists, they can only match the reality by instruments. Spiritual science, no matter what spiritual science, the mind is the laboratory, not any other laboratory, but the mind. That is same for all religion in a way.
Just in regards to that, but I may be mistaken, but there, I believe, are some recordings of the Four Elements retreat that you have offered in the past, so I can share those. I could be mistaken, but we have them said.
Yeah, I have taught a lot the meditation on the Four Elements, especially in Czech and in Germany, but there may be something in English also, I don't know. In Deer Park, huh? Oh, okay. But in German I have taught very extensively this.
Also, but in regards to this question, I can recommend reading the last paragraph of our Shravakabhumi text, which I hope all of you have access to. If an individual who tends to rumination, who is totally involved in that, caught up in his or her internal issues and is distracted, really applies in monoself to this practice, that person's disturbing ruminations will cease very swiftly. Their mind will totally remain on the object, and true delight will authentically arise in the mind. This is very encouraging.
Yes, what is this?
This is Alan Wallace's translation of this passage regarding Vitarka Charita.
Oh, okay. For Vitarka Charita also very suitable is meditation on the Four Elements. But in Tibetan tradition they have also meditation on the elements, but it is quite different. I have not studied it, but I have seen in the internet, but have not yet heard the teaching on the elements in Tibetan Buddhism. I will have to find it and listen to it. In internet nowadays you can find anything. It is incredible.
Banteji, slightly off topic, but only slightly. You have very good knowledge on Qigong, Pranayam, Ayurveda, and Chinese Buddhism.
Chota Baba. Not a very good knowledge, but maybe more than maybe average people. But compared to the great masters, I am a very, very beginner. Huh?
That's your view. Anyhow, the question is there any insight or any experience from these fields that is complementary to medicine that you would like to share with our students?
Well, the medicine is this holistic medicine is very much connected with the spiritual science. Why? Because Indian medicine, Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, same. They regard the man as part of the nature. Huh? So the same in nature, you have coolness, you have heat, you have the excess of something, you have lack of something. Huh? The same like you study the nature, you study the man. And that is also yoga. Huh? In yoga you also study man, or in Tao you study the man as a microcosm, and it is microcosm, it is inseparable from the microcosm. I had the chance to visit Peru, and I had some courses there also, and I had the chance to meet some shamans, and they have a very wonderful philosophy based on symbolism of meeting of the earth, sky, and underworld. They symbolize it by snake, puma, and condor. And you will find it in many, many representations in art, in philosophy, and it is also connected with medicine, everything. The universe and the man, they are inseparable. And this, in the fact of this inseparableness, the fact of this inseparability. Thank you very much. My English is, especially with these complicated words, inseparability. The inseparability is very important. And this is the weakness of the Western medicine. It is wonderful, it is helpful, but it has the doctors in the olden times, same in Greece, same in India, same in China, same in Peru, they were shaman. That is the original religion. And the philosophy and the psychology and religion, they were never separated. Now we have separated everything and we are in darkness, that we are part of the universe. So, this mental disease is more and more common. From the psychological point of view, the modern man has a mental problem, no? because of wrong view. The Buddhism explains very clearly. And the wrong view is prevalent. And we are educated in the wrong view and affirmed in the wrong view from the very beginning. As soon as we are born, we are subjected to wrong view. So, what to do? Now we have very little time, so we go hum or some other questions.
Bhante, with respect to today morning's session, I just needed a clarification.
Pardon?
With respect to today morning's session, I just needed some clarification. In the point number 4 that we were reading today, it said, if a breath is inhaled upon, really refining the bodily formation. What does refining the bodily formation mean?
Bodily formation is the synonym of breath. He gives the 4 synonyms: anapana, in breath, out breath, bodily formations, and wind element, which he translates as vital something.
Energy.
Vital energy. So these are the synonyms.
Okay, it's the same thing as breath. Thank you.
Refining is referring to what? Refining the body from
Refining with pasambhaya, prashrabdi. Prashrabdi means pliability, lightness, softness, smoothness. These phenomena, especially pliancy.
Bhante, what is noble silence?
What is?
Noble silence.
Noble silence. Noble silence means simply not speaking, but in a deep sense, it means not also think nonsense. No, give fasting of the mind. But normally, when you go for meditation, so you have everywhere noble silence, but it means no speaking. But in deeper sense, it means fasting of the mind. That is meditation. In yoga, they use this upavasa of the mind. It is used in Vedanta also. You will find, I think, in Brahma Sutra.
Do you want to ask your question also, Bhante?
So, hum. We have 10 minutes. Kesara is looking at me like something churning in the mind. You have any question?
Just wondering if we sitting meditation can we use the mala?
Yes, sure. Especially when you talking, when you have a lot of things to do, when you go to Kalimpong for shopping, And especially when you go to Bangkok, then it is very useful.
What was the question?
You live in Bangkok, no? Yeah, that is very good. In Bangkok, very, very active people in Bangkok. So this is protecting the mind, no? Otherwise, if you are used to it, it will protect the mind. If you're not used to it, it will not do the job. But when you're used to japa, then you don't need japa, you just touch the mala and immediately you become concentrated. You don't need to use any of these Sanskrit malas, you can just use Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, anything. But of course this non-dualistic approach is very helpful. And it is not in contrary to the ideas of the you will find in the, especially in Sutta Nipada, the world is empty. That is also in Theravada Buddhism. The 5 skandhas are empty. The body is like the inner of the banana tree, or it is like the bubbles. The Vedana is like the foam, right? So it comes to the same thing. But as she has pointed out, in the non-dualistic tradition, you watch this avajjanacita as something which comes from the karma. If you take the object as something real. But that side is kind of not emphasized in Theravada. But it is very important for the non-dualistic understanding. So you watch over the avajjanacita, over this aspect of seeing, which comes when it holds to the object, it comes from the karmic consciousness. So that's how you protect your mind. You don't hold to the object, because you understand it comes, this holding comes from the karmic consciousness. When the karmic consciousness is penetrated, it has no holding. So that is a deep aspect of understanding tanha. Tanha nirodha. You can practice every moment.